we're in a busy season. We'll reconnect later.
No, we need to reconnect now.
The thing is, the busyness never ends.
What would happen if we just got honest? If we stopped hiding behind fear and false pretenses or fake excuses? What if stepping out from behind the wall of lies opened up opportunity for connection, for feeling seen and heard, for living a life of freedom? Because the truth is, the lies we believe shape the lives we live. Welcome to Season 3 of the Inspiring Heights podcast. Let's get honest, where we're going to explore some of the plaguing lies we believe and get honest about leaning into the truth and living free.
We are landing the plane today in our final episode of Season 3, the Let's Get Honest series. And I'm so excited. I'm excited about today's podcast episode, but I'm also excited about the work that has gone into this season. I feel like so oftentimes we can get caught up in so many misnomers and lies in the world that are kind of sneaky, and they worm their way into our hearts and our brains, and they frame how we see life. And it's more damaging than I think we sometimes recognize and know. So just creating space and room to acknowledge, like, hey, this is something that I believe and it's not actually true. And so what does it look like to move forward in truth, so that I can reframe and see the world kind of right framed, as like I don't want to like to say. I like to right frame things, right? So that's what we've been working on in this season. So to land the plane today, I am so excited to have one of your guys' all-time favorite guests back on the podcast. My husband, Ben, is here with me today. Hi, honey.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Today, we are going to be talking about 7, yes, we're going to have to rapid fire these, 7 myths of date night. And I am so excited that you're here. One small caveat I want to make before we jump in is that this conversation is coming through the lens of us being a married couple, right? However, the content, the conversation that we're going to have really is applicable beyond just marriage, right? If you are single, this can apply to friendship, family, a dating relationship. So please don't hit stop if you're single and you're like, this is not for me. No, I promise you are welcome here. And my hope is that some of this content will hit for you as well. All right. With that, let's go. We've all been there. You know, the old, hey, we should go on a date this week. Yeah, for sure. What do you want to do? I don't know. How about dinner and a movie? Here's what's true. Date night is way less about the money, the bouginess level, and even the romance. It's about connection. That's why I created a free date night guide for you called Beyond Dinner and a Movie that comes with 10 simple and accessible date night ideas that emphasize connection. Each idea comes equipped with a connection question, a connection challenge, and a cost rating, so you can spend less time planning and more time connecting. Grab yours today for free at inspiringheights.org/date night. I will also drop the link for you in the show notes below. So, honey, you and I have had I think I would say, tumultuous relationship with date night over the years.
Yeah, seems accurate.
I feel like before we got married, it was like, you need to have date nights. You need to schedule date nights. Like, I felt like we went into marriage with that sort of like mentality, or at least I did. I don't know how you felt. I guess therein lies our first issue, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard that. I think I heard that, like, maybe not date night, but intentional time.
Yeah. And so I think where the first thing that got weird for me was we had and have a lot of friends who have kids. And so date night feels like so much more critical for someone who has kids because they don't get to spend like all day, every day talking to just each other, right? Whereas like that's a little bit different for you and I. We don't have kids. And so we do get to talk to each other, you know, like much more freely and much more often than some of our friends with kids. And I feel like for me, that created kind of the first barrier of date night. And then I would say the sort of second thing was like, I think some of these myths that we're going to debunk, I definitely think I fell into the trap of believing them. And they sort of colored how I seen date night going. Like essentially, I was like, date night needs to be um special, which for us, special, like kind of bougie, not necessarily like 12-star restaurant bougie, but like it needed to be outside of the norm. And there was definitely a season in our life where like eating out wasn't necessarily out of our norm. So there was like these things that where it was like hard to figure out like what actually felt special. And I also felt like it needed to be perfect. Like our conversation needed to be perfectly curated, and we needed to come home feeling like wildly connected. And if those two things weren't, met, then it really wasn't all that successful. And I would also say, as the wife, I definitely felt like there was times where I really craved for you to like create this special event that was like 3 steps shy of our wedding, just to go on date night. And that's not really like your personality. It's not like your thing. That's actually kind of like my thing. What would you say about just like kind of preliminary, like talking before we dive into these myths, like what date night was like for you when we first got married?
Yeah, it falls along those lines. I think it like I think I saw it as something that was important, but I think a lot of the time I felt like, when are we gonna find time to do date night? When are we going to like? But we also, yeah, we have all these other projects, and like we need to get this done and that done. And also, I would say that especially early on, we hosted a lot,
Yeah.
which I think was draining for both of us. So when we were hosting, it was like, I don't have the energy to go plan anything fancy for us.
Sure. Oh, that's an interesting perspective. We've not talked about this, so this is good. You're getting unfiltered raw content right now. Let's go. Okay. Thanks for sharing that, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We are going to rapid fire so that we are not here for like 3 more hours. We are going to rapid fire through some of these. There are 7 myths I want to talk about because I think they're important. I chose these really intentionally. The first one is date night will fix our relationship. Date night will fix our relationship. Honey, truth or myth?
Myth. It's a building block, but it's not gonna magically fix everything.
Yeah.
It's important because you need to spend time and connect.
Yep.
But it's not the magic bullet.
Right. I talk about this a lot. There isn't a magic bullet to connection. Right? Like it takes a lot of energy and intentionality in every decision that you make throughout the day. And that's hard. As as someone who loves efficiency and loves a good plan, I'm like, let's just plan our way to connection very efficiently, okay? Turns out that's not how it works. Rude. I think I agree with you. This is definitely a myth, but I think that sometimes people get caught up in like we're taking life too seriously, or we're not taking any time for ourselves. And so that is the problem. And if we start having date night and it's fun and it's connecting, then it's going to solve this problem and everything is going to get better. Because going into date night, sometimes I think that problem is identified and this is how we're going to solve it, right? But
You
the thing is, the truth is, I think behind that is that a lot of times, even if connection is the issue, right? If you're like, we're not spending a lot of one-on-one time together, we're feeling disconnected. Even if that is the issue, connecting one night a week on date night isn't going to solve the connection issue because you need to feel connected more than just 2 hours a week.
right.
Having more fun can be wildly helpful. That's something we have had to work into our life. Ben and I are what we're kind of fun. We're funnish. We're fun in our own way. We love a good laugh and, but we love like our goats and the garden and the dogs and board games. Like that's like our fun, like jumping out of airplanes and, like I don't know, like
Roller coaster.
roller coasters, swimming in the ocean. That's not fun to me. That's terrifying. And why would we put ourselves in that kind of risk? Okay, anyway. No, but I think that fun is really important. But again, the root issue of connection is not solved in date night. So I think what's really important is that, like, I love how you said it, like it's a stepping stone. It's a block in the chain, right? but it's not the end all be all. So the flip here is not to say like, well, date night's not important then. It's just to say, make sure you right frame what date night is and is not going to accomplish for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Myth number 2. A good relationship should feel effortless. Truth or myth?
Yeah, that's a myth. I think good relationships take work,
Mhm.
and effortless is, I mean, we've talked about this, like, effortlessness is like living your lives side by side
Yeah.
and not actually connecting with your spouse or whoever. It takes work both to see the other person, and also, I would say, to let yourself be seen by the other person too.
Mhm. Yeah. Agree. I totally agree. I was thinking about you and I read the book, The 5 Love Languages this past year, and we had never read that before, right? We had just done the quiz when we were kind of newly married.
Yeah.
And our love languages are, well, yours is not the same
No.
as it was when we first got married. I don't know if love languages change or if we've just, if, I don't know. I don't know how that all works, but it is not the same, or if we misidentified early on. But one of the things that Dr. Chapman talks about in that book is the feeling or the sense of feeling like in love, and that's what comes first, right? Like that's when you're Twitter pated. We have a really funny Twitter pated story. I should definitely tell it quick. I will. Don't let me forget to come back to that. But that feeling of being Twitter pated when you're in love and you're dating and you're engaged and you're newly married and you're just all Twitter pated, right? And you're just twirled up inside about one another. But then life starts to happen, and this is where the effort comes in. And this is where the lie of effortless really comes in, is because in the dating relationship, it does feel pretty effortless, right? I mean, I definitely like have known people who have had a harder dating relationship than what our story was. And they would say dating is not effortless. I would say our particular story is that like it took effort, but it was easy. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But definitely as we've gotten we've been married for 5.5 years. So as we've gotten further along in our marriage, I would say, holy moly, it requires a lot of effort. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean sort of waking up from that like Twitter patedness and saying, if I don't extend effort, it's exactly what you said. We start living a life side by side, because effortless is me doing what I want in my own brain, in my own timeline. And effort is including you in that.
Yeah.
It's not that way for everybody. I think everybody's effort and effortless is different, but that's what it is for me. And so, yeah, good relationships are definitely not effortless.
Right.
Okay, the Twitter pated story really quickly. When Ben and I were dating, was it the first time you came home with me?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, the first time I brought Ben home, and we stopped at Runnings somewhere on our way for something. I don't even remember what we were buying. And Ben had like checked out first, and I was checking out. He was, he was standing like right beside me or whatever. And I was checking out, and the lady told me my total, and I was just like staring at Ben with like stars in my eyes or hearts in my eyes. And I literally did not hear anything this woman said. And Ben was like, I think you can pay now. Hashtag Twitter paid it. Oh, it was so funny. Okay. Myth number 3. We have to spend a lot of money on date night.
Oh yeah, that's false. Yeah. I think it's not about the money. It's about, I mean, it's about connection. So you can be connected, yeah, on the couch reading a book together.
Yeah.
Or talking about a book, or talking about, I don't know, if some people might find it fun to talk about the political debate or whatever, but
That would not be us, but
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
some people definitely might.
But yeah, you can do that, or you can spend as much money as you want. But I don't think the price of the meal or the activity, it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah, it goes back to, this was a trap that I fell into early on in marriage, where it was like, in order for date night to be actually date night, it had to be special. I'm doing air quotes, you can't see. It had to be special. And so oftentimes we connect special with money. And the reality is exactly what you said. What needs to happen, that the crux of date night is connection, right? So that's setting down distractions. It's, for us, this would be like an example for us. We really shouldn't go to, like, say, Buffalo Wild Wings on date night where there's like 20 million TVs surrounding us, because if the Indiana Fever or anybody else is playing a game that I might be remotely interested in on the TV, I get lost in it so easily. Even if I'm not interested, I can be like, wait, were you talking to me? You're so much better at that. I don't know what I'm like. I also get lost in other people's conversations. I'm not eavesdropping, but I'm watching their body language. I don't know why you are so good at not doing that. I love it. You have to be like, hey, come back to me. Here I am.
So true.
Oh, it's so true. So yeah, it's more about connection than money every time.
Yeah.
You can literally go on a hike or a walk that's 100% free and have a better date night than a whole night at a 5-star hotel and restaurant, depending upon how you tee up your time together, I
No,
would say.
absolutely.
All right, next one. We have to finish all the chores before we can enjoy ourselves. Can you tell that this one maybe hits a little for us?
Yeah, this one definitely, because we both have a tendency to want to finish all of our quote unquote responsibilities. They are responsibilities, but they may not be as important as connecting. We don't have to come home to a perfectly clean living room, or all the clothes have to be put away. Like, you don't have to do that. You can.
As it turns out, those things will still be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
This just came to mind and it's so funny. Grandma Eva used to say, I don't do the dishes at night because if the Lord comes back in the middle of the night, I'll leave them for whoever's left behind. That's like, what a great philosophy. I can't stand to leave dishes in the sink overnight, but the sentiment is real. The sentiment's real.
Yeah.
That's been a conversation that you and I have had, and I've talked about that on the podcast and in the emails a little bit this spring about in summer, is just that there is a lot of tension between efficiency and connection.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I don't, maybe let me swap the word efficiency for productivity, though efficiency does play a part in it. I would say there's a lot of tension between efficiency and productivity and connection. So just like for us, like just really practically for us, last summer, you did everything outside and I did everything inside. And that's how we managed our responsibilities by and large. I would go out with you in the morning and do some gardening things, but by and large, you were out and I was in. And what we have really tried to flip on its head this year as we've kind of stepped into our peak season is trying to figure out ways to do more things together. This extends past just day night into saying like, yeah, it is more efficient for me to be inside cleaning the bathroom while you're outside doing that, because then at the end of the day, like both of those things are done versus just one of those things being done, right?
Right.
But when we're together, there's a greater chance for connectivity than when we're not in the same space, right? And so the way that this, I think, funnels through into date night is that we all have our barriers to date night. So for some people it's kids, it's finding a babysitter. For some people it's money, or whatever that looks like. And then like for us, our barrier is like time and location, right? It's like to have a date night that is not physically at our house, the nearest place would be 45 minutes away. But the place where we could go where we for sure know there's going to be a restaurant open is like an hour and 15 minutes away, one way, right? And so when you're looking at the calendar and you're like, okay, we should probably go on a date night tonight or this week, whatever. But that's like a whole, it's not like from 6 to 8, right? It's from like 4 to 10.
Right.
It's a whole affair. It's a whole afternoon affair. So it's like, so then you're kind of like navigating this really like sort of length of time, which gets challenging. You have to make the choice. Like this actually matters more than this whole list of things that we have to do because our connection, because our marriage matters more than these things that we're producing over here.
Right.
And obviously there's like we were created to work, right? We have to, like, we have these things that we're stewarding and we're taking care of and managing, and we want to do that really well. But one of those things, and I think we can forget this sometimes, one of the things that we're stewarding and managing is our marriage, and our marriage is a reflection of the church, and the church's relationship with Christ, right? And so, like, it's important that we manage and steward it well, and we tend to it, and we care for it. Okay. This actually leads us right into the next myth/truth. We need more time.
Yeah. We don't.
It turns out we all have the same 24 hours in a day.
We do. It just depends on how you choose to manage them.
Mm-hmm. Here has been the biggest pivot I think we have made in date night in the year 2026. Our goal is to have it one date night a month. That's our goal.
Yep.
Sometimes those date nights are very planned. We have a whole evening planned of fun. We go bowling, we go to dinner, we go to a basketball game, we blah, 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 right? We have a whole event planned. It's never bougie. It hasn't been bougie yet this year.
No.
But it has been fun. That's like one of the things we've been really trying to concentrate on is having more fun.
Right.
But there's also been times like this just happened like last week where we had to go on a day trip to a town far away. On our way home, we were like, hey, we need to eat dinner. We haven't had a date night. So we could stop and eat dinner at this like sort of fun restaurant that we haven't been at together. I'd been there, but you hadn't.
Right.
And we could experience this like thing together and have good conversation and put our phones down and not be distracted and have a little like impromptu date night on our way home instead of eating like in the Arby's drive-thru.
Yep.
And I actually, when I was thinking about this myth, that's what I was thinking about is like, yes, we need to be sure that we're setting aside this intentional time to connect, but sometimes we need to be willing to pivot in the moment when connection is actually an opportunity, even if it's like not planned months in advance or days in advance even.
Yeah, and I think you can pivot that at any time.
Yeah.
I think we can do what we did, which is, or like even there's even been times like when we're at home, like we had a plan to go do something else, and it turned into, I wouldn't necessarily call it a date night, but it's more of connection talking instead of working on our to-do list.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it goes back to, it kind of ties into the myth that we have to spend a lot of money too, right? Where it's just like, there is a level of both flexibility that can help make date night more sustainable, but also just remembering what date night's actually about, that it's about connectivity. It's not about the plan, it's not about the bouginess, it's not about the money, it's not about the appearances, it's not about the perfection, it's about connection. And when we can right frame the connectivity part and let that be the first lens through which we see date night, then everything else kind of comes a little bit more naturally, I would say. All right, 2 more. Next one. This is a good one. This is a good one. We're guilty of this. We're in a busy season. We'll reconnect later.
No, we need to reconnect now.
The thing is, the busyness never ends. Like, you can say,
Let's go.
we're in a busy season, but there's always going to be busyness.
Whether you're in the middle of summer gardening, that accumulates in harvest, and then by the time you're done harvesting, the holidays are here and you're preparing for holiday whatever, people going someplace, buying gifts, whatever, and then you might get a brief respite in January, maybe, but
Depends on how many outings I plan.
and and then it starts all over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get the winter blues and start thinking about spring again.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. It's so true. Yeah, we live in this world where we will often say, like, okay, when this is done, then this will happen. We talked about this when we were talking about connecting with your spouse. We talked about that. Like, when this project at work is done, when the gardening season is over, when the kids are a little bit older, when they're in school, blah, 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 then we'll have this time. And the reality is, it goes back to the inverse relationship that productivity and connection have with one another. And holding that up to the light and saying, like, okay, if this is true, if these two things, you know, play someone against one another, then how do we hold them so that we are productive and connected at the same time? What does it look like? And I think that, like, just to be really transparent, I think one of the things that's hard about this conversation, and one of the things that you and I still talk about on a very frequent basis, because we definitely haven't perfected this by any stretch of the imagination, but is that, like, what does that look like to be productive and to be connected? Because sometimes it feels like in order to be connected, you have to just, like, drop everything and sing Kumbaya on the couch every night and, like, stare in each other's eyes while everything is sort of, like, melting down around you. And you're like, well, at least we're connected, you know? And at the same time, it's like, I think everybody's wired a little bit differently, but I would say for you and I both, we're a little bit more geared towards, like, we're a little bit more task oriented. And so there's a lot of things that come from completing tasks. There's sort of like a dopamine hit that we get, I think, both of us. And also it's easier, right? Like, you want to talk about effortless. Tasks aren't necessarily effortless, but when you hold a task up to, like, being really fully 100% engaged in a conversation where you're sharing your emotions and you're digging past the cement wall of your emotions and things like that, tasks win in terms of the effort required to get forth, right? And so I think that the biggest, like, word of advice, if you're looking for a word of advice from us, would be to keep talking about it in the moment. That's what we've had to do. We've had to get comfortable saying, right now, not forever in the future, not on Wednesday, not next week, not in September, like, right now, what are we choosing?
Yeah.
What's more important? What do you actually need? What do I actually need? Where are we at emotionally? Where are we at physically? What does our body need right now? And getting a little bit more in tune with each other that way so that we can make decisions about where productivity versus connection sort of sits.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we're getting into our final one now. This is fun. Okay. We don't have anything new to talk about.
Yeah, I think that's a myth.
Unless maybe you're 95 years old or something.
It is a myth, but do you remember? I remember seasons of our marriage when I would be like, I feel like all we talk about is Legos and Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
or Vanessa's job.
Yeah.
Basically, that was the rotating conversation: Lego, Star Wars, and Vanessa's job. Round and round and round we go. Yay, right?
Yep.
I think what I would say, I'm curious if you agree with me, but I think what I would say about that is, for us, that myth felt true when we were disconnected from our own emotions and therefore disconnected from one another.
Yeah, I think so.
I would say we have both made a very solid effort to be more connected, not only with one another, but also with what's going on inside of our own hearts this year. And in that work that we've both been doing in that regard, I would say I can read this now and go like, this is absolutely a myth.
Yeah.
But 2 years ago, I would have been like, no, that's not a myth. It's so true. Like, what are we supposed to talk about? It was hard.
I think there's always something new to talk about, and you learn new things about the other person still constantly, or things that person hasn't shared. Like the other day we were talking about, like, I hadn't shared that I had this vision for the garden.
Yeah.
And like then we were able to like talk about that. Like I had all that in my head, but
Yeah, exactly. And we also have, you and I have started using like conversation cards that like prompt
Yeah.
some fun conversations at times. And I don't think that's because we can't have conversation when we're by ourselves in a quiet space. We're actually really growing in that area, I would say. But the conversation cards are usually kind of fun.
yeah, they're fun prompts, and some of them are silly sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say a lot of times they're kind of silly, but it does prompt other conversation.
Yeah. It helps you though. So I would say, yeah, if you're struggling in that area, if you're like, what am I supposed to talk about? Conversation cards are great.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're lame. It doesn't mean you're disconnected. It doesn't mean you suck at date night. It's just a tool, I would say, that can be really helpful.
Yeah, and you don't have to you don't have to spend excessive amount of time on each card. Like,
Right.
I mean,
Don't overthink it.
yeah, we spend like what 5 minutes like on a card at a time, and we do 1 or 2 when we're on our date night or whatever, and then we'll start talking about other things.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Honey, if you were to leave our audience with one thought, one piece of advice, one anecdote about date night, what would it be?
I guess I would just say like start with something simple and do it. Like and something simple and intentional and do it.
Yeah, I love that. Attainability. If you're not doing date night, don't start with once a week.
Right.
Start with once a quarter, once a month. Work your way up. If once a week is your goal, I love that for you, but don't start there because you won't attain it
And you'll get demoralized.
and you'll get demoralized. Yeah. Momentum comes when you win. So put yourself in a position to win.
Yeah.
Love it. I think if I were to say one thing, it would be twofold. Make date night fun and make it connecting.
Yeah.
That's it. I think sometimes date night can feel, we fell into this trap when we were newly married. I would say all the way up until the year 2026, we've really gotten quite a bit better about date night in this calendar year. I would say we really flipped it on its head in January, and we've pursued it in a different way, and it's been really helpful. But I would say date night wasn't always fun necessarily. I mean, it wasn't bad, right? But it wasn't like the goal of it wasn't necessarily fun. Or if it was fun, it wasn't necessarily connecting. Like, so those are the two those are our like rules. Those are our caveats of date night. We want it to be fun and we want it to be connecting. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to cost money. It can be done at home. For us, date night at home is a little bit more tricky because we are home so much because we both work from home. And so we find date night at home a little bit more tricky, but it's definitely doable. It definitely is. But the two rules of date night, fun and connecting. All right, friends. Thanks so much for being here, honey. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Happy date nights. We'll talk soon.
And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Do you have questions, comments, or insights on today's content? I would love to hear from you. You can DM me on Facebook or Instagram, or head over to our website, inspiringheights.org, and click on the Contact Us form. I will link all those locations here in the show notes. P.S. If you haven't already, I would love for you to leave a 5-star rating and a quick review of the podcast. This helps get our content in the hands of new listeners. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter and follow us on social media for rhythmic doses of inspiration. All right, friends, take a deep breath and be inspired where your feet are. Bye for now.